I love ink swatching day. So today we have 6 new inks to swatch out. These are all part of my recent Atlas stationery haul. So I'll go ahead and link that down below in case you want to see other parts of that. But we're going to be swatching 2 Wearinguel inks, Robinson Crusoe and Dracula. We also have a Leonard toolbar. This is sesame, I think it's sesame seed oil or sesame oil, sorry. No seed. We have 2 Dominant Industries. We have Unicorn and Apatura Metis. I'm probably saying this one wrong, but it's a really, really pretty, like, orangey color. And then we have one Robert Oster ink, which is whiskey. For swatching, we're going to be using my Iroful notebook. I bought this at the beginning of the year. I've been really happy with how it's swatching everything out. So we're going to go ahead and use that. I will use a pipette to go ahead and put down a drop on the paper. We'll spread it out with my plastic bag, and then I'll use my Kakimori dip nib to do a little writing sample for you on the side. We'll also be making swatch cards. These are the Col-o-ring paper, and this is, let me bring over one that's already done to show you. So essentially what I do is I use that same plastic bag to make a swatch here. We'll use a cotton swab to make a stripe at the bottom. It makes it easier for comparing colors. And then we'll go ahead and write the name on the top. I'm going to start with Dracula because I am just so intrigued by this ink. If you haven't tried any of the Wearinguel inks, I really love them and they perform really well. It's a company out of South Korea. A lot of the inks actually are made in South Korea, I'm learning, because Wearinguel is South Korea, Dominant Industries is, and so is Colorverse. I think Diamine is UK, and then Robert Oster is Australia. It's just really interesting. Oh, and Lennon Toolbar is Taiwan. So in case you were ever wondering, it's just really fascinating to me. The majority of your really high-end stationery products you'll find will come from Asian countries, be it Japan, Korea. There is some from Taiwan. They're slowly coming up on the game, I think. And then you have a little bit that's coming from Europe, but mostly it's Japan and Korea, I feel like. Okay, I think I have all the glitter really mixed in there. So let's see how amazing this is, because it looked really amazing and I bought it specifically to go with my brand new pen. And I'm just so excited about it. Definitely more ink than I really need, but that's okay. I don't mind. Oh wow, look at how it spreads. Oh, it's a little watery. That's okay. Bigger swatch than I meant, but we're okay with that. And then I'm just going to take a paper towel here to set underneath my ink swatch card. I'll put that there. And then what I'm going to do, and sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't, is if you take this and kind of use up the rest of that ink, I think I want a little bit more on here. So we're just going to give it a little something there. Maybe a little more than that. Let's see how that does. Because I really want it to get all of the effects of the ink, including that shimmer, right? Okay, that seems good. And now I'm going to go, well, actually, let's agitate again before I do the cotton swab, because you can already see how fast it falls. When you're using these in your pen, you definitely want to move the pen around to make sure it doesn't all sit towards the nib and you have enough lubrication so it doesn't get all clogged up. But I like this color. It's really nice. And I think after it dries, we should pull out my new pen and look at it next to each other. Okay. One more time. Oh, I can see some of the like pinkish purple shimmer coming out. It's really cool, guys. Wait until you see this, because I think it's a little hard to see in the camera. Now, I do think for writing on here, I found that my Kakimori doesn't work great for writing on this particular paper. It's a little rougher, the Col-o-ring paper, and has more of a almost watercolor paper texture to it. So for whatever reason, my Pilot dip pen works better on it. So instead of trying to be frustrated with my Kakimori for not writing the way I want it to, we're going to go ahead and just use 2 dip pens. Because why not? Oh, I just spilled some. I dropped the lid. So this is Wearinguel Dracula. They have a new like vampire ink out. It starts with a C. I think it just came out, but I've heard lots of really good things. Okay, one more time of agitating. I will say when you're doing your ink swatching, having something down to protect your desk is super important. I have this little dust mat. I picked it up off of Amazon for, I want to say like 10 bucks. And it looks really nice. And it just, I don't worry as, really? I swatched all the way through. Okay, well, that's okay. So, Wearinguel. There we go. It does feel pretty wet. It probably needs to be to handle that shimmer load. And let's do some lines. We'll see if I can get some finer lines. With the Kakimori, it all depends on the angle. If you want that bigger, you want to be more like horizontal, and vertical gives you a much nicer fine line. So let's see how fine we can go. Some inks just aren't, there's too much lubrication, I feel like, so they almost fall off the nib. Let's do a heart over here. We still have some on the nib, and so we'll just kind of use it up. Our next ink is going to be the Robinson Crusoe, another Wearinguel ink. I think this one is more of a shader than having all that shimmer in it, but it has some amazing colors. I've been waiting to get my hands on this particular one for a while. It had been out of stock, but as soon as, if you see an ink on Atlas that's out of stock, if you sign up for the notifications, you'll find that they actually come back in stock pretty quickly. It's just sometimes they don't have like a million bottles of it, so you have to grab it when it comes in, you know? Okay. Such a pretty like teal blue. I think we're only doing 2 on this page. These tend to be a little bit more watery. Which work really, really well in your finer in your finer nib pens. And I love that Wearinguel has this whole series of inks inspired by literary things. I just find that amazing. I don't remember when Robinson Crusoe came out, if it was this year or last year, but I don't think it's been around a whole lot. But the shading on this one just looked so beautiful. All right, we're going to set this off to the side and we'll go ahead and do that swatch card. Let's go ahead and I'm going to put a little drop on there and then use our same baggie. There. Write our name at the top. So here's my curiosity question of the day. So I remember being in high school and, or maybe it was middle school. I'm not really sure, but having to read Robinson Crusoe, or at least parts of it. I don't think I remember the whole book, but I do remember at least I was supposed to read it. Is that still a thing? Did you guys have to read Robinson Crusoe when you were in school? Let me know. Time to move on to our next couple of inks. Let's start actually with the Lennon Tular Sesame Oil. I've heard lots of really amazing things about this. It is a standard ink, and I need a good brown for fall, I feel like, and I think this might be it. Very nice. I'm going to move that off to the side. I do have my paper plate with my swatch card on here. Hold on. Not well thought out. Here we go. Now I can go ahead and put a drop on here. I feel like I'm going to like the shading that this might do. So definitely a very brown, which is nice. The only complaint I have with these is, although this one says it, my other one I don't think had the name of the ink in English on it, which was hard for me because I was like, what is this called? Yeah, I really like that shade of brown. It almost makes me think coffee in some ways. All right, we're gonna let that dry. And let's do our dip pen stuff here. Very smooth writer. My other one that I have is really smooth as well. I think I forgot an S in there. But it's like a light brown, very legible. Definitely seeing a lot of shading in here. I can't decide if I like it better wet or dry. Yeah, definitely a very nice fall color. Browns were something I was really missing in my arsenal, so super happy to add that one. Next, let's dive into Whiskey, which is our Robert Oster ink. And this one, I believe, does have a shimmer to it, so I'm going to make sure we agitate it sufficiently. It's a little harder to see through these bottles because they are colored, I believe. All right. Now the tricky part is trying to make sure I don't touch that other ink. Oh, this one's a lot more orange than I expected. Okay, not a bad thing. So I'm going to set that off to the side for a moment and bring over my plate to go ahead and do our swatch here. Maybe more ink than I meant to do there. We'll see. I do like my Robert Oster inks, with the exception of a couple of the really shimmery ones, because I do have some challenges with those. Yeah, this is the ink that I bought because my son has 2 new kittens and he has one named Whiskey. And so when I saw there was an ink named Whiskey, I was like, I think I need to get it. Specifically for that reason. I'm not sure what color whiskey is, like the alcohol. I've never actually had any. I'm not a big drinker, so you guys will have to tell me, is this the color of whiskey? Like the alcoholic beverage? I'm not sure. And maybe this doesn't have a shimmer to it. I'm not really seeing any. And I don't see any particles here at the bottom. So I was just going off of the picture here, which I felt like looked like it had shimmer in it. But I don't know. I like the color shading though. That's really nice. Definitely getting my fall colors on in this one. I don't know, maybe for this one I should draw glass. Ooh, that's a really bad glass. Anyhow. Now we're on to that one I cannot pronounce. It looks to be a really pretty orange yellow with some shimmer in it. Now, I did get a question about these bottles, or a concern more, that they wouldn't be very steady, but I've actually found them to be almost more steady than some of my other bottles. I think because you have so much glass weight here at the bottom that they're not going to wobble while they're there, if that makes sense. Oh, look at how pretty that's starting to look. Just amazing. Okay. I think these might be the two that I was most excited about. All of the Dominant Industry inks that I've tried so far, I really loved. There's a couple that I need to get bottles of, I feel like Seaweed is one of them, because I feel like that's a really nice color. Oh, this is lighter than I thought it would be. Not that that's a bad thing. Plate. It almost made me think of, oh, what is it? Like Fruit Cocktail, I think, that was in the Diamine calendar. Only Fruit Cocktail is more pinkish. This is definitely not a pink. It's a very much an orange. But we are going to just kind of rotate it. It almost looks like the sheen in here is like a multicolored sheen. So I'm interested to see how that turns out as we're drying. And I'm hoping, I can see a little sparkle in there. I'm hoping that you'll really get to see that shimmer quality when everything dries. And as usual, once everything dries, we'll kind of look at everything, and then I'll see if I have anything in my swatch cards that is close. Now this one for sure, I need to look at my label. I'm sure this has some kind of mythical connection, because I think all of the ones in this series might have a mythical connection. Like the unicorn is supposed to be off the unicorn in the stag, I believe. Oh, we need our swatch at the bottom, don't we? It's always interesting to me that when you're looking at things online, what you think they're going to look like and what they actually do doesn't always connect for me. So getting them to swatch them is always just a fun exploration, if that makes sense. Okay, so there's that. And now we can do our writing. It's looking like we're going to have to wait for these pages to dry and then I can swatch the unicorn. So this may take just an extra minute or two on my part. Whiskey shaded up really nice. I think a lot of my Robert Oster inks shade really well. They might be my favorite for that quality. Turn you so I can see your name. Apatura. I need to look up what this is because I feel like it's got to be like a Greek god or something. Wow, the sparkle quality in here is really amazing, and it's like this really fine micro sparkle that I'm seeing come out. I'll do my horrible leaf here. And onto our last ink, which is, you know, I missed this on the other one. These are part of the Pearl series, but this is Unicorn, and you can see all that glitter at the bottom. And I think just like that last ink, as we mix it up, it's going to be so amazing to see. Just such a pretty color. My inclination is to say that this is going to be along the lines of Sailor's Fuji, but we'll have to see. Only Fuji doesn't have any glitter to it. Just so pretty. Okay. Let's give this a shot. There's a lot of glitter in that. It came out spread out so fast. My only concern seeing it down is that it's going to be too light and that I'm going to end up with another ink kind of like Wearinguel's Windy Darling. I was like, what is the name of it? Which is absolutely stunning, but it's too light to really see in most pens. So we'll have to see on that one. Sorry, this chair is like squeaking like crazy, isn't it? It does remind me a lot of Windy Darling, but I think this is darker, and I think this hopefully will be legible, where Windy Darling really isn't. Now that everything is swatched out and dry, we can take a closer look, starting with Dracula. Love the bottle. All of the Wearinguel bottles are just so nicely done. Nice square bottle, very sturdy. So as far as the ink, you have a nice red tone, and it's more of a true red with a pinky purple for the shimmer, and it's a very fine shimmer, so it flowed really well off of the dip pen. Now, I did also do a dip with the chromatography paper, so you can see that here. Pretty solid red all the way through. Not a whole lot of variation in the color. You can see that shimmer on the end and just a hint of more of a browner tone towards the edge up here. This is how it turned out on the Col-o-ring paper. Pretty similar, maybe just a little bit more vibrant than what I had on the Wearinguel paper, but both look really nice. So for color matching, I do go off of the Col-o-ring, so I am matching paper to paper, and it makes it a little bit more accurate, I think. So as far as colors that I had that I felt went with this or were released in the same category, I have 3 colors for you. The first is Private Reserve's Infinity Burgundy. This is a little bit more of a deeper maroon red than a red red. So there is a little bit of variation, but they're in the same ballpark, I would say. Then I had from the Ink Vent, I have Super Giant. Again, this is a little bit more almost orangey red, where this is, I would say, more of a red leaning towards like the pinky tones, especially with that shimmer on it. But again, same ballpark, not too far off. And then I think my closest might be Winterberry, which was part of the Diamine Ink Vent this last year. This has a red shimmer on it, but the undertones, the Winterberry is a little bit lighter, but I think they're both kind of have similar qualities. Just to kind of give you an idea. So if you like Winterberry or any of these other ones, and you want something with a little bit of something different and a little bit of shimmer, I would definitely suggest trying out Dracula. Now, I was hoping to match this to a pen that I recently purchased. So let me pull that out for you guys. This is a brand new Conklin that I have, and I think that's going to go okay. Now, it's not as deep as I was hoping it would be to match up to the pen, but I still like it together, and I think it's going to be great for Halloween. All right, our next color is Robinson Crusoe by Wearinguel. Again, just a really nice color, and you can see from the label how it's going to have a little bit of different shading and maybe a little towards that greenish edge, which is totally what we got in our swatch. Such a pretty color, very legible, very easy to use, and I love this almost tie-dye quality that you get in the swatch. It's so hard to explain, but it really does, especially in this darker area, give the illusion of almost a water. So if you're painting or something with it, I could see using it in like tropical beach scenes and things like that, which totally fits with the storyline. And then as far as our chromatography paper, we have that greenish blue color here on the bottom, and then we go up. There's like a middle blue here. I don't know how well that's coming across. That's more of like a solid standard blue almost, to a really light aqua at the top, and then you have that dark blue edge. It's a very interesting combination. I really like it. And then as far as our color rings, here's how it showed up. I actually think it swatched better on the Wearinguel paper, but they're both really pretty, very legible, nice, solid color. And for my comparisons, so I did pull out Pelikan's Edelstein Apatite, I think that's what it's called. This is much more green than the Robinson Crusoe, but there was something about it that made me think of this ink, so I wanted to pull it out to compare. This is from Color vs. Ink Vent, the Barnacles, I think is what it was called. And I think this blue is pretty similar, but the Robinson Crusoe definitely has more shading qualities to it. And then the last one that I pulled out is quite a bit lighter, but it does have some of that green shading quality in it, and that is Sailor's Manyo Koki. So those are my closest that I could come up with for Robinson Crusoe. I think I'm really going to enjoy this ink. I'm hoping to ink it up in my Pilot Custom 74 this next month, which has a fine tip, and I think the two are going to make a great combo. Next is the Lennon Toolbar ink, the Sesame seed, or I keep on saying sesame seed, but sesame oil, which is that nice brown ink. And I'm really happy with the way that this swatched out. I think it's a really nice color. I like that you can get this really, really dark brown color as well, depending on how it pools and everything. And just the shading quality, it really made me think of, you know, like a coffee or tea stain. So originally I was like, oh, well, maybe it's kind of like Forgotten Iced Coffee from Oster, but it's really not. So here is it on the chromatography paper, and you can see it's really just a nice solid brown with some darkness to the edges, which make it really intriguing. It's kind of that basic brown that everybody needs. As far as inks that I had close to it. Now, I am lacking in browns. I will preface it with that. So here it is on the Col-o-ring paper, and you can really see how much shading you got in there and how nicely it wrote from the dip pen. Now, as far as colors that were in the same realm, I did pull out Diamine's Inkvent Salted Caramel. This was from last year. I think the base tones are pretty similar, although Salted Caramel definitely has a lot more shading and some darker as well as that shimmer. Then I pulled out a new ink, which I have swatched, but that video hasn't came out. That'll probably be next week. And that is Dominant Industries Unknown Land. This is a little bit lighter, has some more greenish tones in it, and a little bit more almost pinkishness to it. So the toolbar is more of a solid, basic, almost cooler brown than this one. The closest I think I got was maybe Noodler's Polar Brown, although Polar Brown is more of a brown, where this is more of a tan, I think. I prefer the Leonard toolbar actually to the Noodler's. The Noodler's is kind of blah to me, and I really like the way that this looks, and I think it's going to match a lot of different elements. Now, the next one, which was Robert Oster's Whiskey, was very surprising to me in the variation that I got between this paper and the other. I've only had one other ink that I felt like had this much of a difference, but on here we almost have like you have this orangey quality down here and this deeper brown on the sides. It looks really cool. I liked the variation. But on the color rings, we get a lot more orange. So I found that intriguing. I'm not sure which one I like better, to be honest. But when I was color matching to other colors, I did go off the color on here because I wanted to match paper types, and I feel like that's more consistent. I did have, like, I pulled out one color to match here and one color to match there, just to give you an idea. But before we do that, let me show you the chromatography paper, which really, again, is pretty solid. I feel like it has a lot more orange than brown in it, which intrigued me. I feel like I should have realized that from the name. And then you have a dark brown edge there. And almost on this end, it's a more intense orange, although I don't know if it really comes across well on the video camera. So the chromatography paper, I think, matched the color rings a little bit more accurately than the other swatch. So I'm going to show you the one that I felt like matched here better. So this is KWZ's Honey, and I feel like this was my closest match as far as matching the color I was getting here. It's not exact, but it kind of has that brown yellow color that I was really seeing here. And as far as what matched this, the closest I could find, and it's really not that close, is Diamine's Ancient Copper, which is a lot more red leaning, and this is definitely a lot more orangey. I think it's going to look great for fall, but I was very intrigued by that. If anybody wants a sample of this ink, go ahead and shoot me a message over on Instagram, and I'm happy to send you a sample if you want to try it out yourself. And then we have the Dominant Industry inks, which are absolutely gorgeous. I hope that they perform amazing in pens because I just love them. So I was expecting this one to be more of almost the color of whiskey, I think, in that more Southwest Sunset from Noodler, kind of a deeper color. But it's a very nice, almost apricot color with this really fine shimmer that's iridescent. So it picks up all the different colors around and is just really eye-catching in the writing. Try to turn it so you guys can see the different angles. But I really liked it, and I liked it especially with all the different shades of orange you get in here. So this was another one that was a little bit harder to match. But here it is on the Colo paper, or the chromatography paper. And you can see all that shimmer right on the edge here. It kind of makes it to about here. And you have a deep, almost red on the very line over here. And then it gets to almost a yellow over here. So a lot of variation in color. And then here's how it turned out on the Col-o-rings paper. So you have a lot of variation in the shading. And the shimmer kind of is along this edge here. I think it was a really nice color. It's just, I was expecting something a little darker. So when I was swatching it, the first thing that I thought before it was dry was Diamond's Ink Vent Fruit Cocktail, which kind of falls into there. Like it's a more mature color, I feel like. Fruit Cocktail's pretty bright and not really my thing, but I do like this. I don't know how much I'm going to use it, to be honest, but it intrigues me. So I definitely want to try it out. But there is it next to Fruit Cocktail. Really the closest color, though, I think might be Dominant Industries Earl Grey, which has a very nice solid orange to it. This is another color that's going to be coming out in that swatching that I did. Well, I've already recorded that'll be hopefully coming next week. But yeah, super cool colors though. And I think if you were doing like some shading or something, these might be two that you could pull in together and do a variation between, and it might be really cool. Anyhow, that's the color that I have the hardest time saying, Apatura? Metis? I think, maybe? And then our final color is Dominant Industries Unicorn. This is a color that as soon as I saw it, I absolutely wanted it. I love Sailor's Fiji, and I really liked the qualities of Wendy Darling, but it was too light. And this kind of looks like it's going to be a happy medium between them. So it's very legible when I wrote with my dip pen. I love the variation. I was a little concerned on how light it got up here, but it doesn't seem to transfer like that into the writing. So I'm hopeful. And I love how we have the dark blues, the purples, that iridescent shimmer just really is special on this one. All right, for the chromatography paper, you have that really dark blue along the edge here. You have that like turquoise blue at the top, and then this pink purple all the way through. So pretty. And now to compare that to our Col-o-rings swatch, which is here, and you can really see the variation in like the almost dark pinky purple here to the light pinky purple, that deep blue, this nice purple in here, the pink tones. It's just an amazing color. So to compare it to Wendy Darling, here is Wendy Darling. And you can really see how Wendy Darling was too light. When I used it with my dip pen, I could hardly even read that. Where Unicorn is definitely a lot deeper of a tone, but they share so much in common. They both have kind of that iridescent shimmer that's really fine, and they have those blue tones. I think Dominant Industry is a little bit deeper in their blue. This is more of a light blue up here, but overall, I think they're a good comparison. So there's Wendy Darling, and then here is Manyo Fuji, which has a lot of the same qualities. I mean, if you look at the swatches together, the only difference being that I think Fuji has a little bit more variation in bringing in that like greenish blue here, where Unicorn seems to be more universal in the blue, purple, pink realm. I like both. I'm excited to use both. I think, so I've used Fuji a lot. I used up 2 samples and then bought a bottle. And this is super legible and very easy to read for me. So I think Unicorn is going to have a similar quality, although it's maybe just a little bit lighter than Fuji. We'll see when we get it in a pen. But either way, I love this new color. And that is everything for today. Let me know what you think about these new inks. And until next time, I'll see you real soon.